How we doing, everybody? Hello. How y'all doing, man? Nothing really too much going on lately. Pretty quiet here in the news. I'm just kidding. Obviously, big shocker of a move today. I'm still processing it, to be honest with you. I'm still trying to find the words, right? I click go live, and I still don't even know kind of what to say, to be honest with this whole thing. I processed it a little bit more. With me, I always try to take things down the middle, right? I always try to look at both angles. There's a lot of different angles with this entire trade, right? Rafi Devers going to the Giants. In case you did miss it, right? Happy Father's Day, everybody. Hope you all had a good Father's Day. Up to this point, I think all Red Sox fans across the land are thinking, what the heck just happened, right? Based off of what I've seen on Twitter land, the reactions that I'm seeing seems more negative than at all, rightfully so, right? I mean, obviously, you're trading away one of your best players. You're trading away a guy that's been with the franchise now for so long, help you win a World Series in 2018. You're trading away the key part of your lineup. It's kind of hard to see the positives with that. But that's where you kind of have to unpeel some layers with this entire thing. You got to go back a little ways. And, I've talked about this. When this whole thing with Rafi and first base was going on, we dove a lot into just all the layers with that. And I'm thinking, you know what? I think this goes back a little ways, right? I think you could even go back as far as even maybe where it started to grow a little bit when they traded away Mookie Betts, right? And didn't bring back Xander Bogaerts. I think you could even go that far, right? Where maybe some seeds, little tiny seeds were planted at that point. And then, you go a little further and you think about how the Red Sox, they gave Rafi the extension, right? And I just brought up the Mookie Betts Xander thing. People might be asking, well, why would he have signed the extension then if he was upset about that? Well, no, I'm not saying that was anything that ended up being a catastrophic thing for him, but it was probably a little something that he didn't like very much. But then he got the extension. Things are great. Guy's a $300 million man. All right, here we go. Let's move forward with this. But then you see the Red Sox where, they're wanting him to kind of be out more in the public eye, right? Talking to the media more. Doing more opportunities, whatever in the city of Boston, right? A guy that's never really been into that, too much. A guy that just wanted to come to Fenway Park and play some baseball, and I respect that. But from the Red Sox point of view, that seemed to be a thing that they were battling with, a bit of a tug of war with Rafi over the last several years. And then you come in, not even spring training. Let's even go back a little further. You go into the offseason. You're hearing the rumblings, right? The Red Sox, Alex Bregman coming up, right? Well, people were thinking at the time, second base, right? You can play second base. But then Christian Campbell started to gain some noise within the media, within the front office. People high on him, right? A guy that could, be your opening day second baseman possibly. And then you bring in Alex Bregman. But even then, before that, you had Nolan Arenado coming up in the news. And I'm thinking, how does Rafi not know about any of this, right? He has to see something out there, right? So obviously with all that, you start to get, the snowball starts to tumble a little bit more. You go into spring training. Well, Bregman's not taking any reps at second base. This guy's taking reps at third base. Rafi's thinking, what's going on here? And then they sit Rafi down, say, hey, you know what? We want you to be the DH. Something where, I'm sure if you talked about that with him this past offseason, like the Yankees do with Aaron Judge, like the Phillies do with Bryce Harper, like a lot of teams do, with their highest paid player. And, you have these conversations and, you think maybe from Rafi's point of view, maybe he just would have liked to have had a conversation about everything, right? Eventually, he warmed up to DH. He came around to it. And then Tristan Casas went down with a season-ending injury. And this is where everything started to pretty much, now looking back at looking at the reports coming out, there's only going to be more reports that come out, ladies and gentlemen. It's only going to keep going. That's how it always has been in Boston. You go back to Theo Epstein, you go back, even Chaim Bloom just recently, Manny Ramirez getting traded away, Nomar getting traded. This always happens. You're going to see more reports coming out. I promise you that. You're going to start seeing other people say, oh, well, hey, I got some people, within the organization that have told me this and whatever. You're going to see more reports. But then first base happened. Craig Breslow says, hey, I want you to move to first base. Can you move to first base for us? We need an answer there. Rafi said, hey, you know what? I'm already settled into DH right now. I'm already, in my routine. I've been this whole tug of war thing. You're pulling me all these different directions. I don't want to play first base, right? And you can look at it from Rafi's point of view, thinking, well, okay, you know what? He feels like this organization that he's not being communicated with. He already got used to a new spot in the lineup, his new role as a DH. And, now he's thinking, all right, well, now I got to learn a new position on the fly. Granted, I think it's not the worst transition going from third to first. It would have taken some time, but still, he wasn't comfortable with it. He didn't like it. Then you see John Henry coming out. Let me share the screen here if you're live with me on YouTube. But then you see John Henry flying out to Kansas City, and that's where things really started to heat up, right? And you're thinking, oh, man, listen, John Henry, that man is, he's either hanging out, in England, watching some Liverpool, or he's at wherever he lives, whatever kind of a villa this guy lives at, nice little mansion somewhere in his silk pajamas. John Henry's not flying out to Kansas City, to do something like that unless it's actually like something. And funny enough, we actually got a little something here from Mike Rodriguez. I actually got a lot of things here from different people, different reactions. So I'll pull those up in a little bit. But then, that meeting happened. You didn't really hear anything coming out of this meeting, right? Not any quotes or anything. No one's saying anything about it. But it seemed to kind of just go away because Rafi started hitting great. This guy was red hot in the month of May. It seemed like whatever happened, maybe things smoothed over, right? He's at DH. The Red Sox will figure out something different. And then, and especially lately, the Red Sox are winning games. They just swept the Yankees. They took 2 out of 3 in the Bronx last weekend, 2 out of 3 against the Rays at Fenway Park. Things are looking great. Things are looking up. And then you get this today. And you're thinking, what the heck happened here? Well, Robert Murray, just to give credit here, I already did go live with this on my main channel. If you want to go watch that whole reaction, it took me a little while to really process everything. My goodness, still shocking to me. I also came out with a separate video on the channel, more of a quicker rundown if you want to go watch that as well. But just giving credit where it's due, Robert Murray, the Giants are acquiring Rafi Devers from the Boston Red Sox for Jordan Hicks, Kyle Harrison, James Tibbs, and Jose Bayo. Robert Murray was first on it. Listen, and Robert Murray, very trusted source. I love everything he does. But when I first saw the tweet, I actually thought, like, is this a parody account? Did this guy get hacked? Or because usually with something major like that, you see Jeff Passan or Ken Rosenthal or even John Heyman with the Boris clients, right? Good for Robert Murray for getting this one. So then we're thinking, like, what in the world is going on right now, right? And, I mean, the reactions have been just very negative. Very negative. Jared is having a field day on Twitter, Mr. Jared Carabas of Section 10, saying here he effing hates it here. He put out a 5-minute video, basically just tearing into it. He goes on to say, no team makes it harder to root for them than the Red Sox. He went on MLB Network. He gave it a thumbs down. He said here, I know the Red Sox really said to themselves, I know it's been 5 years and everyone already hates us for it and thinks we're complete idiots, but how about we make the Mookie Betts trade look even worse? I got it. Let's trade Rafi Devers a year and a half into his 10-year deal. Um, then he went on to say here, this one gave me a chuckle. The Red Sox are so effing stupid. I don't blame anyone who says they're done with this stupid franchise. This is a family-friendly show. I don't curse on here, everybody. And then he says here, if you think this is bad, just wait until the Red Sox let Alex Bregman opt out and go to another team. I'll get to my thoughts on that in just a little bit. He had a field day here. He's still cooking up probably some other tweets. In fact, yes, he actually just put something 5 minutes ago. He said here, the craziest part is that Abraham Toro, Romy Gonzalez have been awesome over at first base. So the Red Sox basically just said, F you to Rafi because their egos got hurt when he told them no. They didn't need him to play first anymore. Still traded him anyway. So yeah, Jared is not happy. Chris Cotillo, he chimed into this on a separate tweet. He said here, a source with knowledge of the Red Sox Rafi Devers relationship described it as unsalvageable situation for both parties. Devers was frustrated with mixed messaging from different voices in the organization, felt like a scapegoat. The root was the player felt was disorganized communication from the jump. He goes on to say, it never got to the point where he demanded a trade. That doesn't mean he didn't welcome one. Conversations took place over months. That's what I was thinking as well in my initial reaction. There's no way someone just picks up the phone and this happens. That's where I think back to this meeting with John Henry. And this is where I think it probably started. I think actually, Mike Rodriguez, he chimed into this. I'm not sure if this was the meeting with John Henry, but he did put this. According to my sources, the last conversation between Rafi and Red Sox management went like this. He expressed his love for the city and his desire to stay, but feeling unappreciated, he asked them that if they did not want him, to kindly trade him, as he does not wish to be in a place where he is not valued. So, Jeff Passan, he put here, Rafi to San Francisco has executives across baseball confounded. On one hand, the Red Sox got out from a deal every model in baseball has underwater, which what that means is because he's a DH, he has lost a lot of positional value. DHs have negative positional value because they're only bringing, value with the bat. They're not bringing anything to the field. And he's making more money than his projected field value over the course of the contract. So that's why his contract was underwater. So saying here, some executives think because the contract was underwater and they got talent back, a lot of executives out there think it's a win. On the other, a team with talent and momentum just traded its best hitter. Craig Breslow made a deal he knew would be very unpopular because the math said it was a very good one for Boston. That's kind of where I'm thinking. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm at this weird, awkward spot because you all know me. I like to look at things down the middle. I like to look at things both from, an emotional point of view, but I like to look at things from an analytical point of view. I will say this, on paper, if you're factoring in money, if you're factoring in the talent you got back, which granted, it's not like you're getting, multiple top 100 prospects here, but when you're looking at it from a money point of view, from a years of cost control point of view with the players that the Red Sox got back, mathematically, this is a win for the Red Sox. I know a lot of people are going to think I'm a homer for saying that. I know that. That's okay. Mathematically, though, financially, years of control, and obviously these players that the Red Sox got back, you're barely paying them. Who knows if they can end up getting a lot out of them? Well, Jordan Hicks, you are going to be paying as well. But I'm talking about Kyle Harrison, James Tibbs. I'll get to those guys in a second. But when you're factoring in all those things, no, I'm not looking at it from just, what their ratings are on MLB The Show. That's not what I'm looking at here. Financially, mathematically, this is a win for the Red Sox. But does this make the Red Sox a worse team? Well, yes, of course it does. I mean, how's that even arguable? Of course it does. The Red Sox lineup just got weaker. I'm looking here on Fangraphs, and they got David freaking Hamilton as the DH. Well, of course this team is weaker. Of course they got worse, right? Financially, sure, they got better here. From a cost control point of view of young talent, sure, they got better here. But their offense just got substantially weaker. And that's going to be tough to fix, especially in the near future. I don't know what to expect from this offense moving forward. I really don't. However, I'm someone where I like to look at things with the glass half full. I think there could be some positives that come out of this. And I wonder if the Red Sox, at least down the road, could end up being a better team out of this. I know that might be an unpopular opinion. I know that, and that's okay. But I do wonder if that is what it could end up being. Now, just my overall reaction on just Rafi himself. It stinks losing a player like that, man. I've really enjoyed Rafi over the years. He's come up with just some clutch bombs, great moments, all the ice cream, the scoops. I love it. I love it. I've loved what Rafi has brought to this team. I've loved that relationship that he's had with David Ortiz. I was really looking forward to seeing Rafi as that next David Ortiz for years to come. I really was. I really liked the bat that he brought. Obviously, one of the better bats that we've seen in the history of the organization. It's tough to lose that, man. It really is. I've been a Red Sox fan for how long now? It's not very often you get a bat like that. You put him up in that tier of, some of the best players that they've had, right? David Ortiz, Manny Ramirez, Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, many over the years, man. It stinks. Stinks losing him. But I do wonder about the possibilities that this could open up. And that's where I look at Roman Anthony. Now, for sure, this guy is absolutely going to be getting his name penciled into this lineup as much as possible. Because Wilyer Abreu, he's going to be coming back here soon too. But now that opens up the DH spot. That's where if Rafi would have moved to first, that would have cleared up a lot of this, where you could have had Rafi at first. I've mentioned that ad nauseum, right? Obviously, he didn't want to go there. I will say this. I'm going to laugh if he ends up playing first base for the Giants. I would not completely write that off. I would not be surprised if that ends up happening. They did bring in Dom Smith recently after DFAing Lamont Wade Jr. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up playing some first at some point, if not this year, maybe next year. We'll see. But for right now, with Wilyer coming back here soon from an oblique strain, didn't look like it was too bad. But now, I also wonder here too, if the Red Sox, I'm gonna say this, a little bit of tinfoil hat thinking here, right? Chris Cotillo saying that, this has been talked about for a while now. Have you all noticed this, that Masataka Yoshida, he's been taking ABs lately? Roman Anthony got called up, right? When it felt like, you didn't really, I don't know, based off of how they were with Roman over, taking so long to call him up, all these theories about, well, maybe they don't want to call him up because they don't want him winning Rookie of the Year and getting a year of service time, or all the Super 2 arbitration stuff, right? Did they need to call Roman up? I think you still could have waited here, but they still did. And Wilyer, and all of a sudden, guys with oblique strains, right? Guys with oblique strains, they tend to need a little bit more time. That takes a little while to come back from. But Wilyer is all of a sudden, he's feeling good. He's feeling all right. I don't know. I find that interesting. I wonder if maybe this deal, this exact one, has been in the works here for a little bit. And maybe they just kind of put Wilyer on that IL, right? Just to get Roman up here, get him worked in a little bit. They know Wilyer was going to be coming back. Because we were all asking, well, what's going to happen with Roman when he comes back? Is he going to go back down to AAA? So I wonder if maybe this has been in the works here for a little bit. And I wonder if maybe Roman coming up maybe had a little something to do with that. But then I'm also looking right here at the man that's been taking all the pictures, a man that's been taking every single snapshot that he can of every mountain out there, of every waterfall out there, of every Grand Canyon or whatever it may be out there. I wonder if this opens up something for Masataka Yoshida, who I said has been taking some swings lately. All of a sudden, the shoulder is starting to feel a little bit better. Does this open up something for him? Well, if you put Masa at DH, well, then you're still going to have a bit of an issue, right, with the outfield. Roman, Willier, what happens there? I will say this. If Masa is the plan for DH, could there still be another trade? I'm still going to say this, ladies and gentlemen. I am not thinking here. I don't think the Red Sox are done. Or at least I'm not going to get that out of my mind just yet. I wonder if there could be another move, right? Because if they bring Masa back, if Yoshida is coming back to DH, because then you still have a bit of an issue here. Because your outfield's full with Duran, Cedon, Willier. Well, where's Roman, right? Or does he go back down? So, again, this depends on what happens with Yoshida. If he's not coming back, if the Red Sox end up just cutting ties, moving him in a deal, well, then okay. It doesn't matter. We will see what ends up happening there. Now, I'll say this. When it comes to the lineup, no, you're not going to be able to replace Rafi with one guy. No, Masataka Yoshida is not going to be able to replace Rafi Devers. Absolutely not. You're insane if you think that. However, maybe you could do it with a couple of guys, right? That's where I'll say this. I'll point this out. What is one thing the Red Sox have been bad at this year? The strikeouts, right? Let's take a little look-see at some numbers here. Well, with Masataka Yoshida, he only struck out 12% of the time last year. Roman Anthony, granted, AAA, still though, only struck out 22% of the time. Willier Abreu, this year, he has gotten the strikeouts down. He's improved the plate discipline a little bit. There is still some swing and miss with him, but 23% strikeout rate. If they were to move Willier and then they simply replace Willier with Roman out in the outfield, and then Masa is at DH, well, then all of a sudden, you've really cut down on some strikeouts right there, right? And especially with Roman, a guy that's he's got some very good plate discipline, right? So, sure, you'll be losing Rafi, but if that was the route you go, you could see a little bit better plate discipline within the lineup. Rafi was disciplined as well. I'm not saying he wasn't, but looking at, maybe you could look at it, a bit of a bright spot right there. I'm also looking here too. Now that the Red Sox have cleared the contract of Rafi Devers, well, what does this mean for Alex Bregman? Alex Bregman's basically on a one-year deal. He's got an opt-out after this year. I'm going to say this, tinfoil hat thinking here a little bit. I wonder if the Red Sox, again, you can, whatever you think of, how the Red Sox have kind of handled this whole thing. I think there's blame to go all the way around with everyone. I think, could you have said Rafi, just step up for the team and play first base? Sure, fine. That's an opinion that I think is fair for people to have. But I also think the Red Sox organization themselves could have communicated better. I brought this up a million times. The Phillies talked to Harper. The Yankees talked to Judge. I think it's okay to get some intel from your top players, right? I think the Red Sox, they botched, communication stuff. That's what I think. However, I will say this. I think the Red Sox, they looked at how Alex Bregman has operated coming to Boston. Obviously, what he was doing on the field was tremendous before he went down, but also take a look at how he has come into this clubhouse and really brought some leadership, some positive vibes, just a different feel, talking with the young guys a lot, really taking them under his wing. I'm sure Rafi's done some things here and there, but, with Bregman at least, you're kind of seeing it a little bit more out in the open. He's sitting at the top of the dugout with these guys. Just bringing that sort of leadership that I think the Red Sox really want within the organization. So I wonder if maybe they've kind of looked at Bregman from afar. They're seeing how he's operating. And I wonder if they've thought too, well, you know what? We're paying all this money to Rafi. We're paying him the big bucks, but he's not really wanting to be that face of the franchise. He doesn't really want to play first base. There's been that. But then they look at Bregman and they say, you know what? Maybe we want to give this money to Alex Bregman, right? The Giants, they signed Chapman to a deal with an opt-out. They ended up extending him. Maybe the Red Sox now can use that money and put that to Alex Bregman, who they feel like is doing the right things both on the field and off the field. Maybe they feel like that's where the money needs to go, or at least attempt. We'll see. It seems like Bregman has enjoyed his time with the Red Sox here so far. We'll see where this goes. But that's what I wonder, if maybe the Red Sox, they're looking at this. Red Seat Radio is here. Red Seat Radio is here. My friend, thank you for joining me today. I saw you went live earlier, but yes, I agree. Got to make sure Bregman is here for the next 5 years. As an understatement, my friend. We need to figure out how to keep this guy long-term. I agree. Everyone, go subscribe. Red Seat Radio. Amazing work, my friend. But I'm also going to look at it from this point of view, too. I brought this up during the reaction earlier. What does this mean for Alex Cora moving forward? I think that's a fair question. I don't know, man. I mean, Cora has been, seems like he's been on the side of Rafi Devers for a long time. What does he think about this? I can't wait to see what Cora's response is to this. I think tomorrow we are going to be getting word from Craig Breslow and Sam Kennedy. Be on the lookout for that tomorrow. But I do wonder what Alex Cora is thinking about this whole thing. I think that's interesting. I don't know. It's weird because, with Cora, he's always valued having sure, he had JD Martinez there for a little while, but Cora, he likes to mix and match with the lineups. He likes to have flexibility. So I do wonder if maybe Cora feels that, obviously, I don't think he's happy with Rafi getting moved. I'm pretty sure he is stunned. But then again, Cora does have ties, very close ties with the front office, right? Maybe he's known about this for a little while. Who knows? But you can't think that Cora is at all happy about this. Maybe there could be, I want to word this carefully because I don't want people to take me out of context here. I do wonder if maybe there is like a sense of relief, not for himself, but just more for Rafi because he cares about him very much. And maybe he feels like, you know what, the best thing for Rafi, for him as a person, is to maybe just have a fresh start somewhere. Maybe Cora feels that a little bit for him. Again, though, from a lineup point of view, you're not happy about it. From a manager point of view, his job just got harder, right? More pressure just got put on Alex Cora. But from a personal point of view, I do wonder if Cora maybe feels a sense of relief for Rafi to go get a fresh start in San Francisco. He's going to talk eventually. Cora, he's going to have microphones all up in his face, right? I think there's a lot of interesting layers about this. I really am looking forward to see what more of the reaction is going to be in the coming days. As Red Sox fans, it's coming. We're going to see this get out, that get out. Someone's going to write about this. Someone's going to put this out there. You're thinking, who the heck is this guy putting this tweet out there? But he's got something on Rafi. We got to read this thing, So you're going to see a lot of stuff, I think, in the coming days. I guess just to wrap this up here, it, it's still shocking. It's still shocking. You know, I can't believe it. Like, I remember when Manny got traded back in 2008. I was still shocked about it then, but looking back on it, not really, right? Because obviously, like, he was done. He was done in Boston. The Red Sox were done with him. They had put up with it, put up with his antics a lot. Obviously, he was a great player. I see a lot of similarities here in different contract situations because Manny was coming up on his contract then. But Rafi was, not even 2 years into his contract. But I don't want to. No, that's not even fair. Also, comparing Manny to Rafi, completely different, right? Obviously, Manny was doing just some absolutely stupid stuff, like shoving down, security guards, getting into fights with Kevin Youkilis. Rafi's not doing any of that. More so just, I'm comparing the frustration between the front office and player, right? Obviously, Manny is not, what he was doing was just ridiculous, right? Rafi wasn't doing any of that. But more so just the disconnect with the front office. You see some similarities there a little bit. Nomar, a little bit too. I think maybe you could even compare this to Nomar a little bit more. I'd actually think that's a better comparison. I think Nomar would be a better one. Granted, the contract was a little different. He was coming up at the end of his. But, a guy that he just felt like Nomar just seemed checked out, right? Obviously, he wanted a new contract and he felt like he just wasn't being respected, right? And, front office didn't view him as, the player that he thought that they viewed him as. And, it just turned into Nomar was checked out, right? So I kind of see that more similar. Rafi, though, it's a completely different situation because Rafi's got a whole career in front of him, where Nomar, while we didn't realize it at the time, he was going into the twilight of his career. He ended up putting up a couple of more decent seasons later on. But, it's still bonkers to me. Still bonkers. I didn't talk about the players that the Red Sox got in return. Well, let's move on from that. And let's talk about this. Well, I mean, hey, at least we got some players back in return, right? And that's where I think a lot of the executives out there, they're thinking, wow, the Red Sox actually got players back and they didn't have to pay any of the contract. I'm telling you right now, Passan said it himself, a lot of executives are going to love that. We look at things, as fans from the outside, from a non-front office perspective, we look at it so differently. People in that world, they look at things so differently. They look at from the money, the numbers, the analytics. We look at it from a completely different scope. So a lot of executives out there think the Red Sox, they probably won this deal, honestly. We'll see. Well, I don't think so. I don't think there's any, I don't think the Red Sox are going to be winning this deal. But could this be a deal where you look at when the Dodgers, they took on all the contracts of Josh Beckett, Carl Crawford, Adrian Gonzalez? Could maybe the Red Sox look at this as like a situation where they were able to get out from a lot of money and they could reallocate that money in different ways, right? And it would give more playing time for some younger guys coming up. That's why I wonder if maybe the Red Sox, they kind of see some similarities with that trade. I've talked about Nomar, Manny, right? The frustrations there. But from a trade comparison point of view, I do wonder if that one is similar. Obviously different, but I wonder if maybe that's how the Red Sox are looking at it themselves. Let's get to the players. Kyle Harrison, he hasn't fully found his way in Major League Baseball. But this is a guy with a good arm. This is a guy that has shown a lot of things. I believe he was a top 100 prospect just 2 years ago. I believe. Right. Kyle Harrison was the number 18 prospect back in 2023 in the top 100, right? Prospects are prospects at the end of the day, right? You got to They eventually got to start performing. But that is one thing to keep in mind with Harrison. He has been a highly regarded pitching prospect, and something to keep in mind. Was he on the top 100 back in 24? Well, yes, he was number 23 just last year. Number 23. So something to keep in mind with Kyle Harrison. Why? Because he's got good stuff. He's got good velo from the left side. He's got a good cutter that he works in, change up as well, right? I think the Red Sox, funny enough, I hate to say this. This is really going to cheese off some Red Sox fans out there. Hunter Knoll on Twitter. Per source, the Red Sox are optioning Kyle Harrison to AAA. That I honestly was kind of... I said that in the reaction stream when I first went live. I was thinking, I'm like, is Kyle Harrison even going to be on the major league team? I feel like there's already all these spots taken, right? In the rotation, in the bullpen. I kind of looked at Kyle Harrison as a guy that can just go back down to AAA, and they obviously they're bringing him in. Andrew Bailey has that familiarity with him. I'll also say this. Let me go back here. Kyle Harrison in 2023, that's when Bailey was there. Harrison did show a pretty decent strikeout to walk ratio, 9 strikeouts per 9 compared to 2.8 walks per 9. The advanced metrics with him haven't fully clicked. He has been a guy prone to giving up the home run ball. But that's where the Red Sox, let's see if they can get in the lab. Look at all these guys that the Red Sox have developed here over the last year or so. Take a look at the Red Sox pitching development going back, this past year, right? Peyton Tolley, he's looked phenomenal down there. Juan Valera has taken a big step forward. Davison Reyes, Paez. Who else am I missing here? Brandon Clark, he's taken a big step forward, right? Obviously, Hunter Dobbins, Richard Fitz, those are a couple of other examples. So I think Kyle Harrison, he could be in a good situation here where maybe he goes down to the minors for a little bit and, gets to work with some of those guys. And maybe Harrison can end up being pretty decent for the Red Sox. But I could totally see Red Sox fans thinking like, what? The guy that we just traded our star and for a guy that's going to go down to AAA, right? So I could totally see the frustration there. But then we also get Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks I find very interesting. He's a guy with a ton of velo. He's got some pretty nasty stuff. When he's on, this guy can be hard to hit. Now, the good thing with Jordan Hicks, and remember, the Red Sox were in on Jordan Hicks before he went to the Giants. This is a guy where, he's so interesting, right? Because he has such good stuff. They brought him in as a starter last year. He was still pitching he was in the bullpen for most. He was a starter in the minors while he was coming up. But then he got moved to the bullpen. He's shown a lot of good things in the bullpen in the past. Last year, he did have some success as a starter. He had a 4.10 ERA, 4.37 FIP, but he reduced the strikeouts. I'm very curious to see what kind of a role Jordan Hicks is going to be in. He's on the IL right now. So I honestly wonder if they put him in the bullpen. I've been saying here for a little bit, I think the Red Sox, they need another high leverage arm in the bullpen. They already got all the starters. So that's kind of where I wonder if Hicks is going to go. If we're looking at the Red Sox bullpen right now. Obviously, they just made the trade for Jorge Alcala. You could just send him back down. They're still waiting for Justin Slayton to come back. But I wonder if you could see a situation where Slayton comes back, Alcala, maybe they could send him down, and then all of a sudden you get Slayton and Jordan Hicks in your bullpen. And all of a sudden, that is a nasty-looking bullpen. I could see them maybe using Hicks as that, like a multi-inning kind of an option, right? You got to remember they do have, what's going on with Tanner Houck, by the way? Did he just disappear? Cutter Crawford, he's been throwing. But I could see Hicks in that, multi-inning kind of a role, right? Kind of like what they were doing with Sean Newcomb a little bit. But I think you could even see Hicks coming in different spots. So, I think you could see him out of the bullpen. I really think that. If some guys goes down, then in the rotation, then maybe he can get a start. But that's kind of where I'm leaning. So I see potential there. This is where I get a little excited, ladies and gentlemen. It's where I get a little excited. I really like James Tibs, man. James Tibs. This guy was an absolute monster at Florida State. This guy, if you like the long ball, you're going to like James Tibs. But not just the long ball, a guy that gets on base, right? 377 on base so far this year. Now, he did have a bit of a tough time in the minors last year in his debut pro season. He did well in A ball, but then he went to high A and he kind of fell off a little bit. In high A this year, you're seeing an improvement with getting on base, 12 home runs, a 480 on the slugging, a 132 WRC plus. This was a guy that was drafted right after Braden Montgomery. And remember, the Red Sox, they traded away Braden Montgomery in the Crochet deal. James Tibs, he went number 13 right behind him. I do think James Tibs could end up being an impact bat for the Red Sox at some point. I mean, people were thinking he was going to be the pick for the Red Sox, but no one expected Braden Montgomery to fall out of the top 10. So, funny enough, we ended up getting James Tibs anyway. So, it's kind of interesting because they get Braden Montgomery, they ship him out for Crochet, but then you end up just getting the next best lefty bat after him, right? Sure, it came at the expense of Rafi Devers, I get that. But, it's just kind of funny how that all worked out right there. But James Tibs, this is a guy with high power upside and a guy that he's shown the ability, especially at college, to get on base, right? There is some platoon risk with him, but, whatever. We've seen the Red Sox, they love using their platoons as of late. And then we got one more guy in this deal. We had, it's Jose Bayo. Jose Bayo, there's not really too much on him as of right now. Coming into the year, Fangraphs, they projected him as the number, I don't know why it's not here now. He was the number 27 prospect in the Giants organization coming over. I think they must have updated that. But one thing I want to point out, he's got a good slider, seems to have an average changeup for the most part, throws a lot of strikes, but take a look at the fastball if you're here live with me on YouTube. 35 grade currently, 40 future grade. This is a guy where he's definitely smaller and I don't want to say shorter, but thinner. He's 6'1", 164 pounds. Please eat a sandwich, my friend. Please go start drinking a gallon of whole milk a day. I need you to put some little beefy beef on those bones. But the fastball, what have the Red Sox done well within the organization over the last year? Increasing velocity. Can they maybe get a little bit of a velo bump with Jose Bayo? Maybe get a little bit more out of him. We'll see. I think, again, am I trying to grasp at straws here? Am I sounding like a homer, trying to look for any kind of a win possible with this deal? I think that's possible. I can be, I can look at myself in the mirror and think, maybe I'm being delusional here, right? I'm not saying the Red Sox won this trade. However, I do see some upside with the guys they got back. And, again, losing Rafi absolutely stinks. There's no question about it. But I look at the possibilities of what it could open up. You could get Yoshida back. Maybe cut down on those strikeouts a little bit more. Roman is going to start getting some more time here. Could this still open up another deal? Could you see Wilyer maybe still get moved if Massa comes back? Could you maybe even see a situation here? I'm going to play fantasy trading in my head. Could you see a situation where maybe they could flip one of these guys? Like Kyle Harrison, maybe. Could you maybe see something like Wilyer and Kyle Harrison, I don't know, maybe for Freddie Peralta or maybe Chris Bubic on the Royals? You know what I mean? I just feel like there's more here, because there's still a lot of guys where there's still a puzzle to figure out here. It really comes down to what's happening with Massa, That I think is the key thing here. What are they going to do with him? I think we're going to find out in the next couple of days. But I see you in the chat, Brett. Just looking at the lineup, not seeing a star hurts. It does. It does. I'm going to look at the chat here in just a little bit, but we do have a word from tonight's sponsor. I'll be right back.
It's summertime, and if you want to let it all flow out, but the hair is thinning, there is a solution for you. And Kratz, it's called Neutrifold. Tell the people what they need to do.
It's easy. You just got to hit up Neutrifold.com and use our code FOUL. And I'll tell you why, because you're going to have thicker hair. That's it. If that's your desire, you want thicker hair, there's no other place to go than Neutrifold.com and use the code FOUL for us.
#1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Neutrifold. For a limited time, they're offering the FT fam $10 off your first month's subscription and free shipping when you go to Neutrifold.com and you enter the promo code FOUL, F-O-U-L. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Neutrifold for healthier hair.
Okay. Let's get back to it here, shall we? And we got some people in the chat. What are you all saying here? I feel like I'm seeing a lot of arguing in the chat right now. What do we got here? Mason, Red Sox need to worry about making the playoffs. Oh, wait, we are selling. I don't think we're selling. I'm going to say that right now. I probably should have said that earlier. I don't look at this as selling. I look at this, again, making comparisons to an old trade. I'm looking at the Manny Ramirez trade. It's still not the same. But remember, when the Red Sox, they traded away Manny Ramirez, one of the best bats in the game, and they brought in Jason Bay. You know, they still were competing. They still made it to the American League Championship Series that year. I mean, that wasn't selling, right? It was just simply, you know, a way for the Red Sox to get out of the contract, maybe try and, you know, to improve the culture in the clubhouse a little bit. I'm not sure if I mentioned that earlier, but I think that's also another thing to think about here too. I think that's really one of the big goals for the Red Sox. Is I think they're just trying to, who knows if they're doing it the right way. But I'm looking at it from maybe what they're thinking of trying to just improve the culture. But I don't think they're selling. I don't look at it like that. I look at it as, I just look at it as we're making a lateral move. And Mason, no, I disagree with you. We are not selling by any means. We're right there in the wild card hunt right now. I don't see it as selling at all. I think it's just making a lateral move. That's the way I see it. That's the way I see it. But we'll see what ends up happening, right? You could even look at Nomar, right? Go back to the Nomar deal. You know, you're trading an icon in Boston. You brought in Orlando Cabrera and Doug Minkiewicz for Nomar Garciaparra. I mean, what? I mean, could you maybe even look at it like that, right? You're thinking, who the heck is Doug Minkiewicz? Who the heck is Orlando Cabrera? What? Orlando Cabrera? This is Nomar Garciaparra we're talking about here. And what do the Red Sox end up doing? They end up winning a World Series, right? Oh, yeah, but George, I agree with you too. And I think that's a good way to put it here too. Pater. Not a lateral move, but not a sell. I mean, I kind of, yeah, you're right. It's not really a lateral move. Maybe that's not the way to say it. How do you even say that? If it's not a lateral move, but I don't look at it as a sell. I mean, you'd take a bit of a step back, and I think they're hoping to take a step forward. We'll see. But yes, George, you are right. Lateral move, well, maybe a little less than a lateral move, but subtracted offense, right? And yeah, I mean, this is going to hurt. Of course it is. There's no way around it. Absolutely not. Like, this hurts. This is not joyful. I'm not going to bed happy tonight. I'm going to bed. You know how I feel right now? I'm not happy. I'm not upset. I'm not mad. Maybe a little upset. I'll go back. Maybe a little upset. Maybe a little mad. Maybe not even mad. More upset. I'm more, I don't want to say confused. Worried? I think worried might be the right word, but not worried where I'm like, oh no. More so, I'm kind of just in a wait and see, you know? But at the same time, I have doubts, but then I'm hopeful at the same time. I don't think I'm making any sense. I still don't even know how I feel. Let's just put it at that. I still haven't come up with how I feel. William Green, what does the trade value say? It says that the Red Sox, they won this deal by $40 million. So, but that's not the right way to describe it. Not the right way to describe it, right? I mean, that's mostly from a financial point of view. The Riz, optimistic. I am optimistic. How about this? I am very cautiously optimistic, but a little upset at the same time. What's an analogy I could use here? You go to the whatever, I'll go with it. You go to the grocery store, you got the perfect meal in your mind. You're going for, a nice ribeye, maybe pick up some potatoes. You get the seasonings. You're feeling good about dinner that night. You get to the store, they got no steak. They got nothing. You think, oh, crap. Well, my plans, just like, you're looking at how well the Red Sox are doing lately, getting into actual contention here. All these plans all of a sudden have gone sideways. And you're thinking, what's going on here? What's going on? What are we doing? But then you come home, you think, okay. And then a new restaurant opens up right down the road. You get a notification about it from, I don't know, a friend or something. Hey, have you seen this new place? It's pretty good. It looks pretty good. You're going there. That's where I am right now. I'm on the way to the new restaurant after my perfect dinner just got completely thrown out the window and I couldn't even do it. But I'm on the way to this new restaurant. I don't know how it's going to go. It could go good. It could go great. But there's also a chance it's going to go terrible. I think that's how tired I am. I'm starting to compare trades to food, to making dinner. It is bad. Jordan, you're right. I apologize for this terrible analogy. I think I'm just at a loss for words still. I think I'm trying to, I don't know, maybe justify things in my head possibly. This is how I am as a Red Sox fan. It's how I've always been. I get upset about things. I'm frustrated about things, but I still find a way to stay optimistic. It's kind of how I've always been. It's kind of just in my Red Sox DNA. It's how it's always been. And David Young, I am too. You're saying here, you're excited for Hicks. I am too. I think he could end up being, we'll see. I mean, the potential's there. You don't know how it's going to go on paper, right? But I think there is something there with him. I still wonder about maybe another possible deal out there. Could Masataka Yoshida come back and finally start living up to, this contract, even if it was just a little bit? Could maybe Kyle Harrison end up turning into a solid 2 or a 3 in the rotation? I'm optimistic about things, but I'm very cautious at the same time. But I am also very excited about the fact that, now Roman has a clear path, depending on how a couple other things go, right? But it's looking like Roman is going to be getting a lot of opportunities here. So I think there's good things, but it is frustrating trading away a star player. We'll leave it at that. But everyone, if you can, hit that like button for me. I'm very tired. I've done now 2 live shows. I've done a video that I posted on my main channel, breaking it down in a quicker fashion. But if you can, for me, just hit the like button on the way out. If you are new, if you are just finding Monster Territory for the first time, think about subscribing. We're talking Red Sox baseball here all the time. And we'll be live here tomorrow night. I mean, listen, we got a game tomorrow night in Seattle. And then we got the Giants. We have the Giants in a few nights. I mean, that's crazy. That is diabolical that the Red Sox are literally going to see Rafi in 4 days in a Giants uniform. 4 days after the trade. That is going to be bonkers, man. That's going to be so crazy. But everybody, I'm out of here. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Really do appreciate that. If you can on the way out, hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you tomorrow night.